How to control your anger. Lessons from Marcus Aurelius. Have you ever blown up at your friends, co-workers, or loved ones? Have you ever shouted at someone just because you're too angry at that time and cannot control your emotion? Do you sometimes lose it behind the wheel, stuck in traffic, or back in coach, stuck on the tarmac? Be honest, when was the last time you lost your temper? Actually, we are living in times of immense anger, an era defined by internal divisions and discourse, filled with epithets and takedowns, and rage tweets. Of course, some of this anger is warranted. Anger is a natural human emotion. Everyone gets angry. The problem is that we've allowed it to take control of us, instead of us taking control of it, and it has begun to take a real toll on our lives. This isn't just bad for our relationships or for our careers. This is bad for our health. According to a 2010 study published in the Journal of Medicine and Life, there is a positive correlation between negative emotions and conditions such as coronary heart disease. The same study found connections between anger and bulimia nervosa and diabetes as well. That is the most insidious part of anger. It is an equal opportunity assailant. No matter your age, your profession, your race or gender, anger can ruin your relationships, submarine your professional goals, devastate your health, and keep you from living the life you want to lead. How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that arouse them in us? Marcus Aurelius. We know anger is a problem. We know it holds us back. We know it makes sense to address the problem. What we struggle with, what we have always struggled with, is how. How do we cope when we begin to feel anger? This was one of the most important questions addressed by ancient Stoicism, and it is the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, who will show us how. Like all of us, Marcus had a temper. Unlike most of us, Marcus had no reason to tame it. He was a man of almost unlimited power. He could say and do whatever he wanted with no concern for the prospect of consequences. And yet, as a man dedicated to self-mastery, he saw the importance of prevailing over the instinct to anger. In a world where people were often driven by passion over reason, where restraint was a principle followed by few, Marcus Aurelius struggled to be better. Because as he saw it, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. In the book Meditations, a collection of the philosophical ideas that Marcus Aurelius wrote to give advice to himself 2,000 years ago, he focuses on applying Stoicism to this problem. In one remarkable passage, Marcus provides a list of 10 distinct strategies for overcoming anger, which he learned from his Stoic teachers. He calls them gifts from the 9 muses and their leader Apollo, the Greek god of healing. Say to yourself at the start of the day, I shall meet with meddling, ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious, and unsociable people. They are subject to all these defects because they have no knowledge of good and bad. But I, who have observed the nature of the good, and seen that it is the right, and of the bad, and seen that it is the wrong, and of the wrongdoer himself, and seen that his nature is akin to my own, not because he is of the same blood and seed, but because he shares as I do in mind, and thus in a portion of the divine, I, then, can neither be harmed by these people, nor become angry with one who is akin to me, nor can I hate him, for we have come into being to work together, like feet, hands, eyelids, or the 2 rows of teeth in our upper and lower jaws. To work against one another is therefore contrary to nature, and to be angry with another person and turn away from him is surely to work against him. Meditations 2.1. Marcus begins his list of anger management strategies by stating first, consider how you stand in relation to them, and how we were born to help one another. 1. We are naturally social animals designed to help one another. He believed that humans naturally form communities and have deep-seated social instincts. We should always bear in mind that we're adapted to work together for mutual benefit rather than conflict and destruction. Elsewhere, in one of the most famous passages of the Meditations, Marcus tells himself to prepare each morning for the day ahead by imagining all sorts of encounters with troublesome individuals, while reminding himself neither can I be angry with my kinsman nor hate him, for we have come into it. Being for cooperation. 2.1. 2. Consider their character as a whole. Marcus thinks we should imagine the person with whom we're feeling angry in different situations, eating meals, sleeping, relieving themselves, having sex, etc. We should particularly bear in mind how their opinions and values shape their behavior throughout the day. When we broaden our perspective beyond the behavior that's annoying us, we tend to dilute our feelings of anger. We also understand their actions better by placing them in a wider context, and to understand all is to forgive all. 3. Nobody does wrong willingly. This is one of the central paradoxes of Socrates' philosophy, which greatly influenced the Stoics. Socrates believed that no one does wrong knowingly. It arguably follows from this that nobody does wrong willingly either. This ancient principle of moral psychology is hard for many people to accept, but it's the basis of Stoic forgiveness and empathy, and a key part of their remedy for anger. Marcus notes that everyone is offended when accused of wrongdoing. Even murderous dictators typically believe that their actions are justified, though they may seem morally egregious to everyone else. 4. Nobody is perfect, yourself included. It's hypocrisy to criticize others without recognizing your own imperfections, a double standard. Marcus actually said that when you notice yourself becoming angry with another person, you should take it as a signal to pause and examine whether or not you're guilty of similar wrong-headed thoughts or actions. Acknowledging our own flaws and bearing them in mind can moderate the anger we feel towards others. 5. You can never be certain of other people's motives. Marcus had studied jurisprudence and acted as a judge in many legal disputes. He therefore knew very well how difficult it can be to know another person's intentions. Anger, however, assumes an unwarranted certainty. Keeping an open mind, by contrast, will help weaken these feelings so that we can deal with the situation more calmly and rationally. 6. Remember, we all will die. The Stoics like to remind themselves that all things are transient. Nothing lasts forever, including our own lives and those of the people with whom we're angry. Before long, both of you will be dead and the whole thing long forgotten. When we think about the bigger picture, it doesn't seem worth getting very flustered about other people's actions. 7. It's our own judgment that upsets us. This is perhaps the most famous doctrine of Stoic psychology. It became the philosophical inspiration for modern cognitive psychotherapy, which is based on the principle that our emotions are determined to a large extent by our underlying beliefs, cognitions. Marcus reminds himself that it's not really the actions of others that make him feel angry, but his own opinions about them. More specifically, opinions that are based upon negative value judgment. Noticing this fact alone can weaken the hold that strong emotions have on our mind, but it should also encourage us to examine our beliefs and question whether there might be more healthy and constructive perspectives that we could adopt concerning the same situation. 8. Anger does us more harm than good. This was another very common Stoic technique. Other people's actions might harm us physically, damage our property or our reputation. However, anger injures our own moral character. According to the Stoics, therefore, it hurts us much more deeply than another person's actions ever could. Anger does us more harm, in other words, than the things we're angry about. Focusing on the negative consequences of our anger can help motivate us to let it go. 9. Nature gives the virtues to deal with anger. The Stoics frequently reminded themselves to contemplate how a wise person, such as Socrates, would deal with challenging people or events, and what strengths or virtues he might employ in specific situations. We all have inner resources that can be used to deal more constructively with difficult people, such as the capacity for patience, tolerance, empathy, and kindness. Reminding ourselves of these positive qualities and contemplating how they could be applied can help us find an alternative to anger and a better way of coping. 10. It's madness to expect others to be perfect. The Stoics were determinists who believed that the wise are seldom shocked because they view whatever happens in life as inevitable. There's good and bad in the world. Marcus tells himself that to expect bad people not to do bad things is madness because that is wishing for the impossible. It's therefore irrational to act surprised, but when we're angry, we say things like, "I can't believe someone would do that." Marcus thinks that's naive and foolish. When someone acts in a way that's objectionable, we should tell ourselves that is to be expected from time to time. It's just a part of life. Acting less shocked makes it easier to respond calmly and rationally to events that might otherwise make us feel enraged and offended. It really does seem that Marcus dedicated himself to practicing psychological techniques like these every day. It's easy to see how they could have helped him overcome the quick temper of his youth and transform himself into the embodiment of Stoic equanimity that he reputedly became. There are no accounts of him losing his temper despite the enormous challenges he faced throughout his reign. Instead, we're told that he earned a reputation among Roman citizens for having been an exceptionally wise and gentle ruler. Marcus could do it, and so could we. Just take time, pick up some gifts from him, and practice them every day. Bear in mind that we couldn't control all that happened to us, but we could control how we responded. Once you have your anger problem under control, imagine what you'll be capable of. Your relationships with friends and family will improve. They'll no longer need to walk on eggshells around you. You'll have more free time. Instead of being a slave to your temper, you'll be able to focus your energy on things you truly care about. You'll enjoy life more, rather than always being on the verge of exploding. No more grudges. You'll be able to let go of the things that have been bothering you. Build better habits. Create new physical and mental routines to fend off irritation and work through your emotions in a positive way. We will ensure that we not become angry if we put before our eyes all the vices anger gives rise to and take good measure of them. We must accuse and condemn anger, scrutinize its crimes, and expose it to the light of day, compare it with the worst evils so that we can see clearly what it is. Seneca. In general, anger is a problem that plagues so many of us, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can solve their problem when applying Marcus Aurelius' ideas to your daily life and practice them every single day. With a few essential tools and the right wisdom, you can leave your anger troubles in the past and achieve the peacefulness and clarity of mind that you deserve. Take the first step in conquering your anger today.